please let us know. Now let's start with the story. I've been happily married to my wife, Sophia, for the past 4.5 years. From the start, we've had great communication. Over time, our connection has only deepened. Sure, like any couple, we've had the occasional disagreement, but nothing major or drawn out. We've learned how to give each other space when needed and, more importantly, how to respect each other's opinions without turning every difference into a debate. One of the things I'm especially proud of in our marriage is how strong our intimate connection remains. We maintain a healthy sex life, something that's helped us stay close both emotionally and physically. It's not just about the physical part, either. It's that feeling of being wanted, understood, and safe in each other's presence. That kind of closeness is rare, and I don't take it for granted. We've also kept up a tradition we started early on, Friday date nights. No matter how hectic the week's been or what's going on in our lives, we make it a point to go out together. Sometimes it's dinner at our favorite Thai place. Other times it's just grabbing a coffee and walking through the park. It's something we both genuinely look forward to, like a reset button for the week. Professionally, I've been working long hours. I didn't mind it at first. There's a certain satisfaction in being able to provide, but it definitely got more intense after Sophia lost her job. I still remember the day she came home, quiet and trying to put on a brave face. At first, I thought it would be temporary. A few weeks, maybe a couple of months. But as the rejections piled up, it became clear things weren't going to bounce back that easily. I won't lie, there were moments when it felt overwhelming. Picking up extra hours, watching our savings dip lower than I was comfortable with, wondering how long I could keep stretching myself before something gave. But Sophia always tried to be supportive. She knew I was tired. She never once made me feel like I wasn't doing enough. "Are you sure you're okay doing this alone for now?" she asked once, her voice soft, her hand resting on mine after dinner. I nodded, even though I wasn't completely sure. "I've got us. Don't worry about that." And I did. I pushed through, took on what I had to, and eventually, we found ourselves in a more stable place. The stress didn't vanish, but it quieted down. Sophia, on her part, kept trying. She sent out applications, went to interviews, followed up on leads, but nothing stuck. After a while, she accepted it for what it was. She shifted into more of a stay-at-home role. It wasn't a planned transition, but she eased into it gracefully. She keeps the house in great shape, cooking, cleaning, making sure our space feels lived in and cared for. Every once in a while, she picks up some freelance work, but it's not consistent or anything we rely on. These days, her routine is pretty simple. She handles most of the housework during the day, and when everything's done, she kicks back in the living room, curled up on the couch with a blanket, watching her favorite series. I would always encourage her to get out of the house more often, do things she enjoys outside the walls of our home, whether it was catching up with her friends for lunch, taking a walk in the park, or even joining a gym just to get some light exercise and fresh air. "You've got to treat yourself, babe," I'd say with a smile. "Go out, do something fun, recharge a little." She'd nod, sometimes smile, but more often than not, she never took me up on those suggestions. I never pushed too hard. I figured she'd come around in her own time. But the truth is, as the months went on and her routine stayed the same, most of her time spent at home, moving from one room to the next, it started to show. The sedentary lifestyle took a toll, and she gradually gained a fair bit of weight. Now let me be absolutely clear, this was never an issue for me. Not once did I look at her differently. I loved Sophia completely. Her body changing didn't change what she meant to me. She was still the same wonderful, loving, hilarious, stubborn, soft-hearted woman I'd fallen in love with. And I made sure she knew that, regularly. But then came that evening. I'd just gotten back from work, walked through the door, loosened my tie, and called out, "Sophia, I'm home." No response. That was odd. I walked into the bedroom and found her sitting on the floor, her back to the bed, surrounded by a pile of clothes. A few hangers were scattered around, and the closet doors were wide open. She was crying. Not just a few tears, full-on sobbing. Shoulders shaking, cheeks red, eyes swollen. "Sophia? Hey, what's wrong?" I dropped my bag and rushed over to her side. She didn't speak, just pointed toward the pile on the floor, shirts, dresses, jeans. Most of them crumpled, a few clearly thrown in frustration. "I can't fit into anything," she finally choked out. Her voice was broken, barely audible between the sobs. "None of it fits, Harvey, not even the loose stuff." I stood in front of the mirror, and I didn't even recognize myself. My heart broke seeing her like that. I wrapped my arms around her as gently as I could. "Sophia," I said softly, "you're still you. None of that changes how I see you." She buried her face in my chest, crying harder. I held her tighter. "You're still beautiful," I whispered, running my hand down her back. "You're still the same amazing woman I married. None of that's changed. I love you. All of you." She didn't say anything, but I could feel the pain radiating from her. Trying to help, I said, "Hey, maybe we could go shopping this weekend? Get you some new clothes, something that fits comfortably and makes you feel good again." I meant it with all the love in the world. I just wanted her to feel like herself again. But the moment the words left my mouth, I knew I'd said the wrong thing. Her head jerked up. Her face crumpled. "You don't understand," she cried, pushing away from me. "I don't want to buy bigger clothes, Harvey. That feels like giving up. Like admitting I've failed." I sat there stunned, watching her break down all over again. "I don't want to accept this," she went on. "I don't want to be this person. I don't want to look like this. You say it doesn't matter, but it matters to me." And that's when it hit me. Her pain wasn't just about the clothes. It wasn't about how I saw her, or even how others might. It was about how she saw herself. It was about her self-worth, her confidence, her identity. Seeing her in that kind of pain made me realize that this wasn't about fashion or fitness or anything surface level. It was deeper, something emotional, internal, something rooted in how she felt about herself, wanting to help. I gently urged her to acknowledge the weight gain, not to make her feel worse, but so we could face it together, like we always had. I sat down beside her that night, still on the bedroom floor, and took her hand in mine. "Sophia," I said gently, "I know this is hard, but we don't have to pretend it's not happening. Let's be honest about it so we can do something about it, together. I'll be with you every step of the way." She didn't say anything at first, just kept her eyes on the floor, silent tears still running down her cheeks. I continued, "How about we start small? We could try waking up early every morning, go for a run together. It's not just about exercise, it's about doing something as a team, showing up for each other." She looked up at me, her expression wary. "I don't know if I can keep up with you." "You don't have to," I said. "We'll go at your pace. I just want to do this with you, side by side." A few days later, I brought it up again, this time while we were doing our grocery run. I picked up a bag of chips, then set it back down. "Maybe we skip the usual junk this time," I suggested, trying to keep it light. "No more cookies and chips. If we both eat healthier, it'll be easier for you to stay on track. I'll give up my Friday pizza if you give up the sour cream and onion." She gave a small laugh, the first in days. "That's a bold ask," she said, wiping her hands on her jeans. But there was a glimmer of something in her eyes, maybe hope. At first, Sophia was hesitant. I could tell she wasn't fully on board. And I understood, this was a massive shift. She was already feeling vulnerable, and I didn't want to pile on expectations. But I kept the encouragement coming, always gentle, always honest. And slowly, she agreed to give it a try. That was about 10, maybe 11 months ago. Since then, everything's changed. In the beginning, it was hard. Waking up early wasn't easy, especially for her. Some mornings she'd groan and roll over, burying her face in the pillow. I'd nudge her gently. "Come on, just 10 minutes. We'll take it slow." And eventually, she'd swing her legs out of bed, tie her hair back, and lace up her sneakers. Little by little, it started to click. The routine became a rhythm. I'd watch her jog beside me, earbuds in, sweat on her brow, determination in her eyes. I was amazed by how fiercely she committed to the change. Her confidence began to return, quietly at first. She started making healthier choices without even thinking about it, swapping fried stuff for salads, drinking more water, trying new recipes at home. Then, about 2 months ago, she came to me while I was at the kitchen table, going over some reports. "I did something today," she said. "Oh yeah." I looked up, smiling. "What's that?" "I joined a gym," she said, biting her lip like she was nervous. "Strength training." I figured it was time. I got up and hugged her, right there by the sink. "I'm proud of you," I said. Really proud. Because of my schedule, I couldn't join her at the gym, but that didn't matter. What mattered was she was doing it, for herself. I saw her changing every day. Stronger, healthier, and most importantly, happier. She blossomed. She started going out more, laughing louder, staying up late chatting with friends she'd made at the gym. She even started experimenting with her looks again, new clothes, a new hairstyle, different shades of lipstick. In many ways, she'd become the best version of herself. And I was so proud to be her husband. Then, a few weeks ago, I got promoted at work. A big step up. With it came more financial security, and I felt relieved. Like everything we'd been working toward, all the struggles and long nights, were finally leading to something solid. Something lasting. I wanted to celebrate the promotion with her properly, so I planned a special evening, her favorite restaurant, candles, the works. We laughed a lot that night, reminisced, clinked our glasses, talked about how far we'd come. And at some point, during dessert, I reached across the table, took her hand, and said, "I've been thinking about something." She raised an eyebrow. "Yeah." I nodded. "We've always talked about starting a family someday. And with this promotion, I just feel like now's the right time. We're stable, we're in a good place, and I think we're ready." I think it's the right time to try for kids. I thought she would be happy. This had always been part of our plan, something we'd talked about for years, sometimes casually, sometimes with real excitement. We'd picture names, imagine what our future family might look like, laugh about who the kids would take after. So when I brought it up that night over dinner, I was expecting a smile, maybe even happy tears. But the moment I mentioned it, I noticed something shift. Her eyes dropped to her plate. The playful energy she'd carried into the restaurant seemed to vanish in an instant. At first, I thought maybe she was just surprised. I really think this promotion changes everything, I said gently, trying to keep the optimism in my voice. It's a stepping stone for us, to finally move forward on what we've always talked about. She still didn't look at me, just nodded slowly, her fork turning over in her hand. And hey, I added, once you get pregnant, I'll talk to my boss about reducing hours. Seriously, I want to be there, Sophia. Fully present. For you, for the baby, for everything. I meant every word. I'd been thinking about it for weeks. I was ready. Ready to be a dad, ready to grow our family. But her face told a different story. Her shoulders stiffened. Her jaw tightened slightly. And her eyes, they looked almost sad. Sophia, I reached across the table, brushing her fingers. What's wrong? She hesitated. Then, almost in a whisper, she said, I don't know if I want kids right now. The words hit harder than I expected. I sat back, blinking. What do you mean? I asked carefully, trying to keep the hurt out of my voice. I mean, we've always said this was part of the plan. I know, she said, her voice quiet. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and I'm not sure this is the right time. But why? I asked. What changed? She shook her head. I don't know. I just think we should enjoy our youth and freedom for a few more years. That's all. I wanted to ask more, push a little, get her to open up, but something in her expression told me not to. She wasn't ready to talk. And maybe, at the time, I mistook that for something temporary. A phase. So I nodded, doing my best to mask my disappointment. Okay, I said gently. We don't have to rush anything. We can talk about it again later. When you're ready. We spent the rest of the evening avoiding the topic. Talked about work, a movie we wanted to see, some mutual friends. But underneath all of it, there was a strange quietness, like something had shifted between us, even if we weren't fully ready to name it. Looking back, I realize now that I should have encouraged her to open up more, ask the harder questions, really try to understand what was behind her change of heart. At the time, I thought I was respecting her space, letting her breathe. But in hindsight, that silence was the first real crack in the foundation. Over the next few weeks, things continued to shift, subtly at first, but enough for me to notice. Sophia began to grow distant. It wasn't anything explosive or dramatic. It was in the small things. She stopped having dinner with me every night like she always used to. Instead, she'd eat earlier, sometimes while I was still at work, and by the time I got home, she'd be in bed, curled up with her phone or lost in a show. She didn't say goodnight the same way, didn't reach for me under the covers like she used to. And then she began skipping our usual Friday date nights, something we had always made a priority. When I'd ask her to reschedule and spend the evening with me instead, she'd often shrug and say, I already made plans, Harvey. I don't want to cancel on them. Her tone wasn't harsh, but it was firm. Final. I try not to take it personally. I really did. Her newfound confidence, the social life she'd built for herself at the gym, it clearly meant something to her. And I wanted to be the kind of husband who supported that. But it wasn't easy, especially when I could feel her slipping away from me in inches, week by week. Like I was no longer her first thought, but a second or third one, something she circled back to when she had the time. Then one night, things got worse. It started off like any of her usual outings. Sophia had plans to go out with her friends from the gym. Nothing new. She left the house around 7, said she might be back a little later than usual. Have fun, I said, kissing her on the cheek as she grabbed her purse. She smiled. I will. Don't wait up. Still, she usually made it back before 11 p.m. And if she was going to be late, she always sent a quick text to let me know. That night, though, the clock kept ticking. 11 o'clock came and went. 11:30 still nothing. I picked up my phone and called her. Straight to voicemail. I tried not to panic. Told myself maybe her phone died. Maybe the music was loud. But my stomach was tight, and I couldn't settle down. I just knew something wasn't right. Midnight passed. 1 a.m. Still nothing. I stayed up, sitting on the couch, listening for the sound of the car in the driveway, the jingle of keys, the familiar sound of the front door creaking open. At 1:30 a.m., the doorbell rang. I jumped up, heart racing, and rushed downstairs. When I opened the door, I froze. Sophia was standing there, or, more accurately, being held up. She was draped around some guy's shoulders, her feet unsteady, eyes glassy and half closed. She smelled overwhelmingly of alcohol, and her body looked almost limp. A group of 3 or 4 others stood behind them, laughing awkwardly, shifting uncomfortably in place. The guy looked at me with an apologetic expression. Hey man, sorry, she just had a bit too much tonight. I stepped aside, trying to keep my voice calm even though I was reeling inside. Come in, bring her in. He guided Sophia carefully to the sofa and helped her sit. The moment she hit the cushions, she slumped sideways and passed out cold. I crouched beside her, brushing her hair back gently. Sophia, she didn't respond, just mumbled something incoherent and turned her face toward the cushions. What happened? I asked, standing back up and looking at the group. A girl with a ponytail stepped forward. It was my birthday tonight, she said. We went out dancing, had a few drinks. Okay, maybe more than a few. Sophia just drank more than she usually does. She doesn't usually drink, I said quietly, confused. I know. We were surprised too, she replied. She just seemed like she was trying to keep up, you know? But we made sure she was safe. Got her home. That's why we're all here. I nodded slowly, trying to process it all. She's okay, the girl added. We've got her phone in her bag. Didn't want to leave anything behind. She reached into her purse and held them out to me. Sophia's phone and her small black handbag, both intact, which they handed over to me. I appreciated their gesture, bringing her home, making sure she had her phone and bag, but none of it settled the weight in my chest. Seeing Sophia like that, completely out of it, her body limp and her breath tinged with the sharp bite of alcohol, it was jarring. That wasn't her. At least, not the Sophia I knew. I looked around the living room at the group, standing awkwardly near the door. They all looked so young, barely out of college, if that. Their clothes, their mannerisms, the casual way they joked even in the middle of all this. It only emphasized how different this crowd was from the life Sophia and I had built together. I'm sorry, I said, keeping my voice even. How old are you guys? One of the guys, tall, wiry frame, backwards cap, raised his hand like he was in a classroom. I'm 23, he said, grinning. The others all chimed in with similar ages, 22, 24. Another stepped forward. I'm Mark, he said. We all go to the same gym as Sophia. That's how we know her. I nodded, trying to keep my expression neutral. Thanks for getting her home safe. Once they left, I stood there for a while, just watching Sophia breathe heavily on the couch, one arm draped across her forehead. A blanket of unease settled over me. My wife, passed out after a night of hard partying with people nearly a decade younger than us. It didn't sit right. It left me with more questions than answers. The next morning, after she'd had some water and gotten a bit of rest, I sat beside her on the bed and gently tried to talk. Sophia, I said, keeping my tone soft, what happened last night? You were completely out of it. She sat up slowly, brushing her hair back. Ugh, don't remind me. I feel awful. I waited, watching her closely. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I was really worried. That's not like you. She shrugged. We were just out celebrating. It was Jenny's birthday. I guess I overdid it. Overdid it. I repeated, raising an eyebrow. Sophia, you could barely stand. You didn't answer your phone. You've never drunk that much, not even close. She laughed, a little too casually. Yeah, I know. I'm embarrassed, okay? I couldn't handle my drink. I'll be more careful next time. I wasn't reassured. Are you sure nothing else happened? I asked, my voice quieter now. I mean, is there any chance someone spiked your drink? Took advantage? Anything? She looked at me like I'd just insulted her. Harvey, she said, exasperated, you need to stop overthinking. Nothing happened. My friends are good people. They wouldn't do anything like that. I nodded slowly. Okay, I just had to ask. You were really out of it. It was me, she said firmly. I drank too much. That's all. There was something defensive in her tone, but I let it go, for the moment. Why you been drinking so much lately? I asked, softening my voice again. That's not like you. She sighed, clearly irritated. Because that's what young people do when they hang out. Harvey. They drink. They take shots. They have fun. I wanted to fit in. There was something in her words that stung, not just the justification, but the way she distanced herself from me in the process. I stared at her, unsure of what to say. She kept going. It's not like I was getting drunk all the time. I'd only ever have, like, 3 or 4 shots. And yeah, I brushed my teeth before coming home so you wouldn't smell it on me. That stopped me cold. You were hiding it from me. She looked away. I didn't know what to say. It wasn't just about the alcohol. It was the secrecy, the choices she was making without telling me, the life she was starting to live apart from me. I tried to piece it together. Is that why you never wanted me to meet your friends? I asked. Were you worried I'd judge you? Or were you embarrassed? But instead of answering, Sophia rolled her eyes in exasperation. She snapped back at me. It's not mandatory for you to meet my friends, Harvey. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? I tried not to react to the tone, but the defensiveness stung more than I expected. I stayed calm, not wanting to escalate things. "I'm not making a big deal," I said gently. "I just wanted to understand why you hadn't mentioned them before. That's all." She crossed her arms and let out a frustrated sigh. I couldn't make friends with anyone older at the gym. Most of them just keep to themselves. This group was different. They were welcoming. They made me feel included. I like hanging out with them. I nodded slowly. "That's okay, Sophia. I have no issue with you making new friends, really. I'm just trying to understand. You've been going out more, staying out later." And this was the first I was really hearing about any of it. She didn't respond. Just looked away, arms still folded tightly across her chest. But after that conversation, it was like something in her shifted again, and not in a good way. Now that she had admitted to drinking with her friends, she no longer felt the need to hide any of it from me. She began going out more frequently, and when she did, her outfits started to change. Gone were the jeans and casual tops she used to wear. Instead, she stepped out in short skirts, low-cut tops, and heels so high she'd end up limping around the next morning. It wasn't just a change in fashion. It felt like she was trying to become someone else entirely. What bothered me more wasn't just what she wore, but how she was behaving. She'd come home in the early hours of the morning, sometimes 2, 3 in the morning, completely drunk, slurring her words, barely able to make it up the stairs. She'd toss her heels off at the door, stumble through the living room, and crash onto the bed without even acknowledging me. It wasn't a one-time thing. It was becoming a pattern, a new normal. And the more it happened, the more I felt like I was living with a stranger. This wasn't the woman I married. Not even close. But it wasn't just the nights out. Her behavior at home started slipping too. She stopped cooking completely. Meals had always been her thing. She used to love it, trying new recipes, playing music while she cooked. That warmth had vanished. There were no groceries in the fridge anymore. She'd forget to go shopping, or just not bother. If I didn't pick up takeout or order groceries myself, we'd be living on dry cereal and toast. With my long work hours, it was getting harder and harder to keep up. I'd come home exhausted from the office, only to find dirty dishes piled in the sink and laundry still in the basket. I was juggling deadlines, clients, and now cooking and cleaning too. And Sophia? She didn't seem to notice. Or worse, she didn't seem to care. It started to eat away at me. Not just the stress, but the loneliness. The sense that I was holding everything together on my own while she drifted farther away every day. One day, after another long, exhausting shift, I sat across from my close friend Matt at a quiet coffee shop and finally let it all out. "Man, I don't even know where to start," I said, rubbing my eyes. "She's out almost every night now. Comes home wasted. Doesn't cook anymore. Doesn't clean. There's no food in the house unless I buy it. And the worst part is, she doesn't seem to care." Matt looked at me, his brow furrowed. I sighed. "She's not the same, man. Not even close. And I can't lie, it's getting harder and harder to recognize the woman I married." I stirred the coffee in front of me, barely tasting it. "She's just distant. Like I'm not even in the room half the time. I feel like I'm holding on to something that's already slipping through my fingers." And I told him everything. The late night drinking, the change in clothes, the silence between us, the coldness, and how distant she had become. I was expecting Matt to offer me a bit of comfort, maybe tell me that things would get better, that Sophia was just going through a phase, or that every couple hits rough patches. But instead, he hit me with something far more unsettling. "Harvey," he said flatly, "these aren't just little issues. These are massive red flags, man." I just stared at him, unsure how to respond. "You've been bending over backward to make sense of her behavior because you still want to believe she's the same woman you married. But let's be real, she's not. And from what you're telling me, there's a real chance she's cheating on you." The words landed like a gut punch. I opened my mouth to argue, but nothing came out. Matt leaned in, voice low but firm. "You need to take the blinders off. Stop seeing her through rose-colored glasses." That conversation shook me, to my core. The thought that Sophia might actually be unfaithful, it hadn't fully crossed my mind before. Not seriously, but once Matt said it out loud, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Her erratic behavior, the secrecy, the way she no longer made time for us, the late nights, the phone always glued to her hand. It all started to form a picture I didn't want to see, but couldn't ignore anymore. From that moment on, something in me shifted. I started paying closer attention. And one thing I noticed immediately was how much time she spent on her phone. Always texting, always scrolling, but not casually, secretively. Her posture would stiffen if I entered the room. She'd tilt the screen away from me, or suddenly swipe out of whatever app she was on and lock the phone. It wasn't normal. Not for her. Not for us. That's when I knew. If I wanted answers, I'd have to find them myself. Even if that meant doing something I'd never imagined myself doing. That night, she came home around 2 a.m., drunk again, laughing to herself, muttering something I couldn't even make out. She collapsed into bed, reeking of tequila, and started snoring almost immediately. My chest tightened. I sat on the edge of the bed in the dark, listening to her shallow, ragged breaths, wondering who she'd been with, what she'd done. Then, I quietly slipped out of bed and tiptoed across the room. Her purse was on the floor next to her heels. I crouched down, unzipped it slowly, and pulled out her phone. My hands were trembling. My heart was hammering in my chest. I stepped out into the hallway and moved into the far corner of the house, near the laundry room, where I knew she wouldn't hear anything if she woke up. The screen lit up in my hands. The first hurdle, the password. She'd changed it recently, and I didn't know what it was anymore. For a minute, panic set in. I stared at the screen, feeling helpless. But then I remembered something. Sophia was forgetful. She wouldn't choose something complicated. It had to be something easy to recall, something that mattered to her emotionally. I started with our anniversary. No luck. My birthday? Nope. The day we met. Still nothing. I ran through possibilities in my mind, then stopped. Her mom's birthday. She always talked about how close they were. How that date, more than any other, meant something to her. She'd mentioned once that she even used it as her locker combo in high school. On a hunch, I typed it in. Month, day, year. The screen blinked and unlocked. To my surprise, it worked. I had unlocked her phone, my hands trembling as I held it in my lap. My breath was shallow, my chest tight, a pit growing deeper in my stomach with each swipe of my thumb. Part of me was praying I'd find nothing, that this would just be a moment of paranoia, a mistake I'd feel ashamed for making. But another part of me feared the truth. I started scrolling through her messages. At first, nothing stood out. Just casual group chats with some of her gym friends. A few messages from Mark, the same guy who had helped carry her home that night. I paused on those, narrowing my eyes. Friendly enough. But I kept scrolling. And that's when it hit me. Messages started to shift in tone. The flirty emojis. The late-night timestamps. The teasing language. Then it got worse. Way worse. The conversation between Sophia and Mark wasn't just flirtatious. It was intimate. Sexual. Detailed. There was no ambiguity. No room for doubt. My heart pounded louder with every message I read. There were photos, selfies of her in tight gym clothes, in bed, suggestive poses. His replies were just as graphic. Compliments. Jokes. Plans. And then the final nail, messages about skipping the gym altogether. Meeting at a nearby motel. Our usual fun time, Mark had called it. I felt the blood drain from my face. My hands started shaking harder. I scrolled through the thread again, hoping I had misread something. But it was all there, plain as day. Sophia, my wife, had been cheating on me with Mark for weeks. Maybe months. The betrayal hit like a wave crashing down over me. I snapped photos of everything. Every incriminating text. Every explicit image. I didn't know what I'd need them for yet, but I knew I needed proof. Proof of what she'd done. Proof that I wasn't crazy. I was sick to my stomach, furious, heartbroken, and hollow all at once. But it wasn't enough to see the texts. I needed to see it for myself. I needed to catch her in the act, to confront her face to face with the truth she thought she was hiding. The motel they had talked about in their messages, it gave me exactly what I needed. The next day, still carrying the weight of everything I had discovered the night before, I left work early. I drove straight to that motel, the one they had mentioned in their texts. I parked across the lot, far enough to stay out of sight, but close enough to watch. My hands clenched the steering wheel, sweaty and cold. And then, there they were. Sophia pulled up in her car first. Then Mark, right behind her. They got out, laughing, carefree. She reached over and touched his arm as they talked. She looked happy, relaxed, like there wasn't a storm waiting just a few feet away. I started taking pictures. Each step they took toward the room. Each glance they shared. My phone shaking in my hand as I captured every second. They disappeared inside. I sat there, seething, watching the clock. 58 minutes later, the door opened. They walked out, hair tousled, clothes rumpled, still laughing. And that's when I'd had enough. I opened my car door, stepped out onto the pavement, and started walking toward them, my phone in hand, recording. My heart was racing, but my steps were steady. Sophia turned her head, and that's when she saw me. She froze. Her laughter died in her throat. Her expression changed instantly, from carefree to horrified. Her face went pale, eyes wide, mouth slightly open like she wanted to speak, but couldn't. In that moment, she realized what was about to happen. Mark, on the other hand, stayed completely silent. His eyes darted nervously between me and Sophia, and he looked visibly shaken, like a kid caught doing something he knew was dead wrong. He didn't say a word. Not one. But I couldn't hold it in anymore. Everything inside me, months of confusion, anger, betrayal, it all came pouring out in one furious wave. You can have her, I shouted, my voice shaking with rage. I'm done. You two deserve each other. Cheating, lying pieces of trash. I don't even remember all the names I called them. I just remember my voice cracking, my hands clenched so tight, my heart racing like it was trying to escape my chest. I'd never felt that level of fury in my life. Not even close. Sophia started crying, begging. She stumbled after me, her face streaked with tears and makeup, sobbing my name. Harvey, please, wait, please just listen to me. But I didn't stop. I didn't even look back. I got in my car, slammed the door, and drove away, shaking, seething, my blood still boiling. By the time I got home, I already knew what I was going to do. I didn't want to be there when she came back. I couldn't stomach the thought of sharing the same space, even for a second longer. I threw open the closet and started grabbing clothes. Essentials, toiletries, my laptop, charger, anything I thought I might need. I stuffed it all into a duffel bag, barely thinking. Just acting. Then I left. Checked into a nearby hotel. Needed space. Needed quiet. Needed to breathe. That night, my hands still trembling, I opened a bottle of cheap whiskey from the minibar. Anger and humiliation burned inside me like fire. And then, impulsively, recklessly, I pulled out my phone. I had the video. Them outside the motel. Laughing. Walking in. Then coming back out. Her hair a mess. Her smile smug, like she had just gotten away with it all. I uploaded it to Facebook. I told the world what she did. It was messy. Fueled by pain and alcohol. I wanted her to feel as exposed as I had. I wanted everyone to know who she really was. No more pretending. No more acting like a victim. She had destroyed our marriage. I wasn't going to let her rewrite the story. After that, everything was a blur. When I woke up the next morning, my phone was going off nonstop. Dozens of missed calls, notifications, texts, DMs. My stomach turned as I realized what I'd done. I didn't even know where to start. I scrolled through the names, friends, cousins, old coworkers, and Sophia, over and over. But first, I needed to hear my parents' voices. I didn't want them to worry. I just needed to feel grounded. I called my dad first. His voice was calm, but stern. Is it true? He asked. I paused. Yeah, it is. I caught her. I've got proof. There was a long silence. I'm sorry, son, he finally said. No one deserves that. If you want to leave her, I've got your back. His support steadied me. For a moment, I felt less alone. Then I called Mom. I don't know what I expected, maybe more sympathy. But instead, her tone was hesitant. Measured. I'm so sorry you're hurting, she began. But Harvey, you need to think this through. Carefully. Don't do anything permanent while you're still angry. Think what through? I asked, baffled. Mom, she cheated on me. For months. What's there to think about? She sighed softly. She's your wife. Family is family. These things, they happen. But that doesn't mean it has to end everything. What do you mean these things happen? I snapped. She betrayed me. Her voice was calm, but frustratingly vague. Sometimes, people make mistakes. Big ones. Not everything is black and white. I stared at the hotel wall in disbelief. Are you seriously telling me to forgive her? I'm telling you to think, she said quietly. Take a step back. People don't always stay loyal for years and years. Life, it wears people down. Mistakes happen. My stomach dropped. I gripped the phone tighter. What are you saying, Mom? I asked, my voice low. Have you ever cheated on Dad? There was silence. Dead silence. And then, nothing. She didn't answer. Didn't deny it. Didn't say a word. I waited, heart thudding in my chest, but she stayed quiet. Eventually, I hung up. And ever since that conversation, I haven't been able to shake the feeling that my mom might be hiding something. No good parent, I kept telling myself, would ever push their child to reconcile with a cheating partner. But mine did. And I couldn't stop wondering why. Mom's insistence that I think things through and remember that family is family had started to gnaw at me. It didn't add up. This wasn't just her trying to be forgiving. It felt like she was defending Sophia, protecting her, almost. The same woman who had shattered our marriage. Why? I couldn't shake the feeling that Mom was concealing something. Something that went beyond just misplaced sympathy. I asked myself over and over, am I just being paranoid because of what Sophia did to me? Am I projecting the betrayal onto everyone around me? Or, is there a reason she's pushing so hard? It made me sick to question her. My mom had always been my defender. She never let anyone treat me unfairly. Not teachers, not relatives, not even kids at school. And now she wanted me to give Sophia a second chance? After everything? I couldn't get it out of my head. That's when I started seriously considering a DNA test. I didn't want to say anything to my dad. Not until I had proof. Not until I knew. If it turned out I was overthinking this, then at least no damage would be done. But if not, I booked the test. When I asked my dad to come with me, he looked a little puzzled. What for? He asked. I just want to check for any genetic disorders, I said. Stuff that might run in the family. Just to be safe. He nodded slowly. All right. Makes sense. And don't mention it to Mom, okay? I added. No point making her worry before we even know anything. He didn't question it. He just agreed. That nearly broke me. Lying to him like that felt horrible. But I needed the truth. Days passed. Then the results came in. And with them, everything came crashing down. I wasn't my father's biological son. I sat in my car for what felt like an eternity, staring at the report, my vision blurring from the tears. My hands trembled as I gripped the envelope tighter. My lungs felt like they'd stopped working. I'd been bracing myself for the possibility, but nothing prepares you for that kind of truth. I drove straight to my parents' house, barely able to breathe. When I arrived, I handed the report to my dad without saying a word. I watched as he read it, his eyes scanning the lines, his mouth slowly falling open, his face going pale. "What the hell is this?" he whispered. My mom stepped into the room just as he finished reading. The moment she saw his face and the paper in his hands, her entire body stiffened. "What's going on?" she asked cautiously. "Tell him," my dad said, voice shaking. "Tell him, Martha." She looked at me, then back at him. I don't know what you're. Don't lie," I shouted, slamming my hand on the table. "I took the test. I'm not his son. Just tell the truth." For a moment, she looked like she might try to deny it again. But then, something broke. Tears welled in her eyes, and she sank into a chair like her legs had given out. Her hands went to her face as she began to sob. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered. "It was just one stupid mistake. One night. I thought it would go away." My dad sat down slowly, his eyes distant. He didn't say a word. Mom kept crying. She finally looked up at me. "It was 35 years ago," she said through choked sobs. "I had an affair, just once. I got pregnant with you, but I was also intimate with your dad." She said she hoped it might be his. That when I was born with brown hair, so different from the blonde hair both she and dad had, she'd suspected, deep down, that I was the other man's child. But instead of facing it, instead of telling the truth, she kept it buried. "I didn't want to destroy my marriage," she had whispered, eyes red and swollen. "So I ended it with him right away. I never spoke to him again. And that was it." She chose silence over honesty. Dad never doubted her. He never once questioned my paternity. Why would he? He loved me, raised me, was always there. He never gave it a second thought. But now, all of that trust, that foundation, had crumbled. After Mom's confession, it got ugly fast. My dad's fury, God, I'd never seen anything like it. There was shouting, tears, things said that can never be unsaid. I won't go into all of it. It's still too raw. But in the end, my dad left with me. We're staying at my hotel now. He's quiet, distant, just numb. He sits on the edge of the bed some days, staring at nothing, and I can see it written all over his face, the disbelief, the heartbreak. It's like the man I knew has been cracked down the middle. And honestly, I get it. I really get it. Because I feel the same way. I still can't believe it, that both the women I trusted most in this world turned out to be frauds. One tore apart my marriage. The other tore apart the truth of my identity. My mother and my wife, both lying to my face for years. How the hell do you come back from that? And yet, my dad hasn't walked away from me. Even after the DNA test, even after learning the truth, he's made it clear. "You'll always be my son," he told me the night we got the results. His voice was hoarse. Biology doesn't change that. I cried when he said that. I'm not ashamed of it. That man is my father in every way that counts, and I feel so damn grateful to have him by my side right now. But if there's one thing I know, it's this: he's done with my mom. Fully. Absolutely. He told her to move out of the house. She begged, pleaded, cried like a child. He didn't budge. I was there. I saw it. He told her if she didn't leave peacefully, he'd toss her stuff on the lawn himself. That was the last straw for her. She left later that day and went to stay with her sister. I haven't looked at her since. I can't. I won't. I'm too disappointed. Too disgusted. Dad already met with a lawyer. The divorce process has started. That chapter's closing. As for Sophia, she was served with divorce papers last week and told to move out of the house. And of course, she didn't take it well. Not that I expected her to. She had the nerve to show up at my office, sobbing and pleading in the lobby like she was the victim. I didn't hold back. "Get the hell out," I told her, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You're not just shameless, you're delusional if you think I'd ever take you back." I told her if she ever tried something like that again, I'd file for a restraining order. Let the law deal with her. She got the message. She's moving out. She has no choice. Oh, and for those wondering, I did take the video down from Facebook. For now. But don't think I'm being soft. That footage is backed up, encrypted, and ready. I'll be using it in the divorce. She's not getting a penny out of me. She chose to destroy our marriage. Now she can live with the consequences. Right now, Dad and I, we're both broken in our own ways. But we've got each other. We're grieving. We're angry. But we're also determined. We've made a choice to heal. to rebuild, to focus on what really matters, and most of all, to move on from our cheating partners. If there's any justice in this world, I got to witness a little of it unfold in that courtroom. Sophia got wrecked. I showed up to every hearing with my head held high and my evidence in hand, screenshots of the texts, copies of her hotel receipts, and of course, the video. My lawyer made sure the judge saw it all. Sophia tried to play it cool at first. She showed up in a sleek outfit like she was walking into a job interview, not a courtroom where her lies were about to get dissected. Her lawyer tried to make some weak argument about emotional neglect or feeling lonely in the marriage. But the judge wasn't buying it. Not for a second. "Mrs. Walker," the judge said, adjusting his glasses and glaring down at her over the bench, "you do realize that infidelity, particularly when so thoroughly documented, severely undermines your credibility in this court?" She fidgeted, swallowed hard. He continued, voice firm. "You're asking this court to grant you alimony, divide assets, and award ongoing financial support to someone who not only betrayed their marital vows, but made a mockery of them." I watched her deflate, piece by piece, like someone slowly letting the air out of a balloon. "Given that both parties were employed and earning during the marriage," the judge added, "and with no children involved, the court finds no grounds to award alimony or divide any marital assets." Sophia's lawyer tried one last gasp. "Your Honor, my client was emotionally vulnerable." The judge cut him off. "She was emotionally available to another man while still married. That's what the evidence shows. Case closed. No alimony. No asset division. The house stays mine, the car stays mine, and every cent I earned remains untouched." Sophia left that courthouse with nothing but her purse and shame. Outside, she tried to talk to me. "Harvey, can we please talk? Just 5 minutes?" she begged, her voice trembling. I didn't even slow down. "There's nothing left to say, Sophia," I said coldly. "You cheated. You lied. You humiliated me in public and tried to walk away with what I'd built. You're lucky I didn't sue you for damages." She stood there, mouth open, tears welling up in her eyes as I walked away. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, my dad's case played out a little differently. He didn't have the kind of slam-dunk cheating evidence I had, but he did have years of faithful marriage under his belt and my mom's own admission of her affair 35 years ago. Still, the law doesn't go back that far for fault. So, the judge ruled that he'd have to pay alimony. It hit him hard, but my dad? He's no fool. A few months ago, right after mom's confession, he quietly moved most of his assets into a trust fund. For me, his only son. So when the court tried to split up the financial pie, there wasn't much left to divide. My mom walked away with some basic support, but not the retirement payout she probably imagined she'd get after decades of marriage. Most of the real wealth, the investments, the properties, were legally sealed up. Safe. Untouchable. I asked him once, during a quiet evening back at the hotel, "Did you always have that trust planned?" He gave a weary smile and shrugged. "No, but when you find out your whole life's been built on a lie, you start making backup plans real fast." "Smart move," I said. "Yeah, I just wish I'd seen it all sooner," he replied, staring at the whiskey in his glass. "But you don't expect to get blindsided by the person you share a bed with." "Tell me about it," I muttered, and we both clinked our glasses together in bitter understanding. So here we are now, two men betrayed by the women we trusted most. Both left picking up the pieces. But there's something strangely powerful about going through hell with someone who gets it. Someone who's bled beside you. My father and I, we're not just surviving. We're rebuilding. Stronger. Wiser. Harder to fool. And as for Sophia and my mom, they got what they deserved. Every last bit. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.